The Byzantine Empire and Western Europe were originally part of the Roman Empire, but by the Middle Ages they were very different, even though they had some common traits. But by the 300s, the Byzantine Empire had far surpassed Western Europe in trade, economics, and political unity, while both empires were having arguments over religion. Despite the collapse of the Roman Empire, Europe still stood, separating into two different areas governed two different ways. Western Europe and the Byzantine Empire were very different government structures. The western half became Western Europe with popes and princes ruling at the time. The eastern half became the Byzantine Empire. Western Europe triumphed from their princes and the pope ruling, since they soon overcame the Byzantine Empire. This was because more than one ruler can hold together an empire or countries better than one ruler. The Germanic peoples had begun to move into the Roman Empire by the 3rd century.
And by 500, the Western Roman Empire had been replaced by a number of states ruled by German kings, where the influence was weaker in Britain. Tribes from Denmark and Germany moved into the area, the Angles and Saxons becoming the Anglo-Saxons.
Later came to be the Frankish kingdom, which had been established by the strong military leader Clovis. The Franks were a confederation of Germanic tribes that was originally composed of a mix of groups settled between the Rhine and Weser rivers. The origin of the name Frank is still debated. Some historians have claimed a like with the English word frank, meaning truthful. Clovis had then become the first Germanic ruler to convert to Christianity. His conversion had won him the support of the Roman Catholic Church. As the official Roman state had begun to fall after Clovis, the Church had played an important role in civilization.
Christianity had become the supreme religion in the state. After a period of time, the Bishop of Rome had started to claim that he was the leader of the Roman Catholic Church. Later, the bishops of Rome were seen as successors of the biblical person Peter. They soon became known as the popes, which is when Gregory the Great came into power.
Gregory I had strengthened the power of the papacy and the church. He had become pope from 590 to 604. Gregory had gained an extreme amount of spiritual and political authority. He was especially talented in converting non-believers into Christians, which had later begun the monastic movement. After this movement, during the 600s and 700s, the Frankish kings had gradually lost their power, starting the Carolingian Empire. The Carolingian Empire lasted roughly about 88 years, starting about 800 and lasting until 888. The population of the empire was between 10 to 20 million people. The empire began when Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne in 800. A lot of people consider the empire was started by Charles Martel, who is Charlemagne's grandfather. Martel founded feudal systems and merit systems, and after winning the Battle of Tours in 768. The Carolingian Empire ended with the death of Charlemagne. The empire was divided into 3 parts, ruled by Charlemagne's grandsons. The middle of the 3 kingdoms was weak and was absorbed by the eastern and western kingdoms.
The Carolingian Empire began to fall apart following Charlemagne's death in 1814. 30 years later, the kingdom was divided into 3 parts: the Western Frankish Empire kingdom, the Eastern Frankish kingdom, and the Middle Kingdom.
Invaders began to move into the weakened empire, causing destruction and the division of people. When the Western Roman Empire fell, a state of chaos encompassed Western Europe for many centuries. Essentially, the people of Europe needed some form of political system to defend themselves. Thus, feudalism developed. Feudalism developed in Western Europe around 800 from the remnants of Western Roman Empire. The system had accounts for all aspects of society aside from religion. At the heart of feudalism was the idea of vassalage. In Germanic society, warriors swore an oath of loyalty to their leaders and fought in battles for them. The leaders in turn took care of the warriors' needs. By the 8th century, a man who served a lord in military capacity was known as a vassal.
Feudalism was a combination of legal customs in medieval Europe that flourished between the 9th and the 15th century. Broadly defined, it was a way of structuring society around relationships derived from the holding of land in exchange for service of labor.
During the Middle Ages, life centered on the manor. Lords received manors from kings and other lords in return for military service. Feudalism arose in Europe because of the need for a way to pull society back together after the Roman Empire collapsed in the West. Feudalism drew on older traditions of Germanic peoples to create order out of the chaos that followed the end of the Western Roman Empire.
At the top of the system was kings, followed by the nobles and wealthy lords. The nobles consisted of the dukes, counts, barons, and even bishops. All were warriors, even when not at war. Tournaments were held to help them work on their skills and become prepared for battle.
In this time period, the nobles began to gain most of their power that they had ever had. The king also found better ways to demonstrate their power. Because of the feudal system, the king did have obligations, so he didn't have absolute power. If he did not do what he was supposed to do, then the vassals could eventually rebel and undermine his power. The kings whose people rebelled were eventually replaced. The kings had some power, though, that gained them respect, such as the fact that they were anointed with oil, which made their authority seem to be allowed by divine authority. They also used allies in war and marriage to their benefit, as well as conquering people that were powerful so they could use them. They focused greatly on power, and to increase it, they used many ways such as trade and increase in city construction and commerce.
Scandinavians had taken over much of the Anglo-Saxon part of England at the start of the 11th century because of King Canute. King Canute did not keep the English ways the same in terms of law, teaching, religion. His reign did not last very long, and in 1042 the Anglo-Saxon kings took control again.
Another man, William of Normandy, however, came across into England and took the throne for himself. The forces of Harold and William met at the Battle of Hastings on October 14th, 1066. The Anglo-Saxons were almost all foot soldiers, and the Normans were archers and knights. Because of the previous battles that the Anglo-Saxons had fought against the Scandinavians, they were very tired and worn down, and eventually gave way to William and his army. After the battle, William marched to London and took the kingship at Christmas. In 799, for the third time in half a century, a pope is in need of help from the Frankish king after being physically attacked by his enemies in the streets of Rome. Leo III makes his way through the Alps to visit Charlemagne at Paderborn.
Ruled by the Holy Roman Emperor, its character changed during the Middle Ages and the early modern period when the power of the emperor gradually weakened in favor of the princes. In its last century, its characters became quite close to a union of territories. The empire's territory was centered on the Kingdom of Germany, and it included neighboring territories, which is at its peak, including the Kingdom of Italy and the Kingdom of Burgundy.
A Slav is a member of most numerous ethnic and linguistic body of peoples in Europe, residing chiefly in Eastern and Southeastern Europe, but extending also across Northern Asia to the Pacific Ocean. Slavic languages belong to the Indo-European family. Customarily, Slavs are subdivided in East Slavs, West Slavs, and South Slavs. Bulgarians, through of mixed origin like the Hungarians, speak a Slavic language and are often designated as South Slavs.
The original habitat of the Slavs is still a matter of controversy, but scholars believe that they populated eastern parts of Europe. They entered the historical records about the 6th century CE when they expanded westward into the country between the Oder and Elbe state lines, southward into Bohemia, Moravia, Hungary, and the Balkans, and northward along the upper Dnieper River.
In 330, Constantine moved his capital from Rome to the Greek city of Byzantium. He named the city Constantinople, which means Constantine's city. Constantine wanted his capital to be safe from barbarian invasion, so he chose a location at the end of a high peninsula that is surrounded by water on 3 sides.
The emperors who followed Constantine considered themselves to be Roman. Modern scholars describe the Eastern empires, the Byzantine Empire, particularly after the fall of Rome in 476. Byzantine refers to the original name of Constantine's capital, Byzantium.
When Justinian became emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire in 527, he was determined to reestablish the Roman Empire in the entire Mediterranean world. Justinian's appointment as emperor stunned the people in Constantinople, who expected one of Anastasius' nephews to succeed him. As such, Justinian's position was far more from secure. Justinian's most important contribution was his legal codification of Roman law, called Body of Civil Law. Strictly speaking, the works did not constitute a new legal code. Rather, Justinian's committees of jurists provided basically 2 reference works containing collection of past laws and extracts of the opinions of the great Roman jurists.
The Justinian Code consists of 4 books: the Codex Constantinorum, Digesta Institutionis, and the Novella Constitutionis Post Codicem. The work on the book began in around 427 when he appointed a 10-man commission to go through all the known ordinances or constitutions issued by the emperors.
The Macedonian emperors expanded the empire by 1025. The Byzantine Empire was largest it had been since the 600s. It had restored much of the empire, but relations with the Catholic Church grew worse because of the Eastern Orthodox Church did not accept the Pope as the sole head of Christianity, leading the Pope and the Patriarch formally excommunicating each other.